Okay guys, welcome to our tutorial. Today we're learning how to bring files in from Photoshop to Premiere Pro. So what I did is I've actually prepped the file inside of Photoshop, added all of my elements, and I've named all of my layers. All we need to do is now create the new project in Premiere Pro and bring this in as a sequence. Super simple. So I'm going to launch Premiere Pro. You guys want to do that as well. You may want to minimize Photoshop for now so that it's not in your way. And let's navigate out to Premiere Pro. Remember, in Premiere Pro, you're conscious about two things: setting up the file and creating the sequence, right? Everyone should have that now like the palm of their hand, like palm readers. All we're going to do is click the new project icon that appears. And then you want to be conscious of a couple of things. Where you're saving it to. What I want you guys to do is navigate to your thought space and create a folder inside of your folder called Graphic Packages. You can see I've created a folder on my desktop called Graphic Packages. But you guys navigate to your T drive, your folder, create a new folder called Graphic Packages. And all you have to do is use this same file and create new sequences for each graphic. So that will streamline your workflow. Okay? For the name, I'm going to call it Graphic Packages. And all the graphic packages is text, elements, logos combined into one to create a nice piece. Perfect, you guys. Everyone should have this under their belt. If not, you can pause the tutorial and watch it again. When you're done, you guys click OK, and then again the sequence. I'm actually going to do something. It says I cannot create a project currently named the same project. So I'm going to click No and add _1 to the equation. I'll click OK. And now we're confronted with the sequence settings. Everyone should be familiar with our new sequence settings. 1080p, 30. That gives us the frame rate that we shoot from those cameras that you're using. The frame size and the frame rate. We're going to actually cover these things, you guys, in weeks to come, but you may notice that there's this 1.33333. What's happening with this? We're going to discuss this and why this is so important when you're making graphics from Photoshop to Premiere Pro. But for now, make sure you're always selecting the HDV folder, HDV 1080p30. The mystery is solved. For your first sequence, you can name this Chili's logo. And if you're doing something for the US Open, or if you're doing something for Word of the Week, cross country, all you have to do is create a new sequence inside of this project. If you want. If not, just create a new project. Perfect, you guys. Let's click OK. And here we are. We now see the what? What is this called? One of your vocabulary words. The application window, huh? By default, what are we working in? Editing, huh? The editing workspace. Okay, you guys are good. You guys are real good. What we need to do now is bring in the logo as a sequence. And to do that, we can go to our project panel, File, Import, navigate to the place you guys have that Photoshop file. Remember, you should create a folder for all of your stuff so that you don't have to search too far. The thought space, your folder, should be the main location. I'm going to navigate to my desktop. I don't know where I have that file, so for me, I can actually search super simple on the Mac. I'll type in Chili's, and there it is. When you open that file, you guys, take a look at this. It wants to know how you want to work with this Photoshop file because there's so many layers involved. all we're going to do is select sequence to bring in all of our layers. That's it. You'll click OK, and a couple of things are going to happen. It's going to bring in this folder. The folder contains not only your sequence, but all of the layers. So if you wanted to, you can bring in an individual layer to your timeline or the entire Photoshop file. Let's do that. Before we do that, I want to verify that my settings were set to import things as 10 seconds. You guys go up to your Premiere Pro. I think you guys have to go up to File, Premiere Pro, or File Preferences, or maybe Edit Preferences. For me, it's under Premiere Pro Preferences General. You guys find it. I'm not quite sure if it's under the Edit menu or which one is it. Huh? It's under the Edit menu? The File menu? Where is your preferences, you guys, on the PC? Is it under the Premiere Pro menu? Preferences? Or is it File Preferences? Gary, can you go up to the File menu, sir, and click it for me? And the Edit menu at the top? Perfect. So it's under the Edit menu, all the way at the bottom, Preferences. And you guys are going to select General. For the Mac, Premiere Pro, Preferences, General. Let's go ahead and make sure that still image duration is set to 300 frames. Remember, there's 30 frames per second. 30 times 10 equals 300 frames equals 10 seconds. I think initially it's set to 150 for 5-second inputs. So click in here, type in 300, and then click OK. What you need to do now is re-import that file by deleting it, and then re-import it. That's going to make sure that all your files come in as the 10-second requirement that we need. So the mystery is solved. When I go and open up the folder and I drag and drop the sequence Chili's ad to the timeline, you can see that my duration is 10 seconds. So that's why you guys want to set up your preferences so that you tweak the still image duration default. If not, you're going to bring in your objects and they're 5 seconds and you're going to wonder, oh my god, do I duplicate it? Do I stretch it? And you're going to find out that you can't stretch it because there's no more room. The upper room. Okay, I'll cancel out, and what I'm going to do is expand my timeline by hitting my backslash key, right? Or you can hit your minus key or plus sign. Or you can hit this little mountain, whatever you like to work. Perfect. Let's double click this to open up the sequence. And if you double click this, you may notice, oh my god, what happened? It opened up in its own sequence panel. And take a look at that. Now I have access to all of my layers. There they are. I'm going to hit my backslash key and take a look at that. Here's my layers. Here's my background layer. I can turn that off and on by using the visibility icon. Initially, the background layer looks like there's nothing. But there's my texture. There's my top bar. Here's my text, etc., etc. So you see how beautiful this is? Everything came in at its own layer. And it's perfectly the 10 seconds that I need for your project. What are you guys going to do now? Let's start with the text. I'm going to start with my top layer. Actually, let's animate the logo. I'll just find the logo, select it, and I'll use the visibility icon to make sure that it's there. So let's animate this. And if you guys don't have the logo, select any layer that you have to animate, okay? I'll animate a couple of these. Looks like the bell's going to ring in about 5 minutes. We'll take a look at this workflow of animating. So when you animate something, you're telling Premiere Pro that, hey, I want it to be this place at this time, and then I want it to move somewhere else at another time. We do that by adding keyframes. So let's do this. Step one, I'm going to select the layer, and it's all about the steps. If you guys can follow the yellow brick road, you'll be in great shape. I'm going to actually expand this panel right here to close down my project panel so I can have more room to breathe inside of my effects controls. Remember, the effects control is where we do all of our keyframing. If you don't see your effects controls, you can always go up to Window, and then you can select Effects Controls, or whatever panel you need to be open. If you're having problems with that, then just simply go up to Window, Workspace, and reset your current workspace. That should bring back your effects controls panel. It may be hiding behind one of these panels. You may have to use this gray bar to kind of scroll to find where it is. But never panic. When in doubt, reset your workspace. Okay, so I'm going to go down here to my timeline and select the logo. I have it selected. Go to my effects controls, expand the position. What I want to do is I need to see some outside area on my screen. So in my program monitor, where it says fit, I'm going to choose maybe 50% or 25% for me, or even maybe 10% for me so I can see some outside area. You guys may want to select 25 or something, but you have to see some outside area when you're animating. Okay, I'll select that layer, make sure it's selected. I want the Chili's logo to be up here, and then in 1 second to come back down here. Since it's already there, I can go to the 1 second mark and add a keyframe for position by clicking the stopwatch. We're working backwards for this. So I've said, hey, the position is great. I love it right there. At the 1 second mark, that's where I want you to be. I add a keyframe for position at the 1 second mark. I'm going to move my playhead back to the beginning of the timeline, which is now at hour 0. I can now begin to modify the position of the logo. I'm going to change the Y value, you guys, the vertical value. I'm going to hold my shift key and drag left to right until that chili is up at the top and off screen. Why am I holding the shift key? Because it gives us more movement. If you don't hold the shift key, you're going to be dragging that forever. Trust me. Try not dragging with the shift key, you'll see. But look at that, you guys. We've created 2 keyframes. At the beginning, it's minus 90 off screen, and at hour 1 or 1 second, it's back at its normal position. And that's all you have to do to add the keyframes. If you can remember those key concepts, you'll be in great shape. I'll go back to the beginning, either scrub my playhead, use the home key, or type in 0 to go back to the beginning, and I'll hit my space bar to play, or I'll hit the play button right here, and you'll see that that chili logo starts off screen, and at 1 second it lands. And there's our animation. Scrub back to the beginning, we'll take a look at it once again. And there it is. So when animating, you have to determine, hey, where in time do I want this thing to be invisible, and where in time do I want it to be visible. Let's animate one more. So I'm going to go back to the 1 second mark, and I want this thing to be off screen. At 2 seconds, I want it to be on screen. I'll go and identify where this entree is by using the visibility icon in my layers panel. So timeline, visibility, looks like it's entree 1. So I'll select it. I'll go to my motion tab. And again, I need to think, what do I want this to do? I know I need a keyframe, so I'm going to click here to add a keyframe for position. I'm going to go to the 2 second mark by scrubbing. And I'll set another keyframe by clicking this to add an additional keyframe. I can go back to the first keyframe by clicking this arrow to go back, this arrow to go to the second. At the first keyframe, I want the image to be off screen. So I go to the first keyframe. I can click the motion tab to select this layer, hold my shift key, and drag that object off screen. Remember, I'm at my first keyframe. At my second keyframe, I'm back to my normal position. So I'll go back to my first keyframe, Command S to save, and I'll hit my space bar to see what happened. If you've done it correctly, you'll see this motion path that appears. That's your visual indicator that yes, it's on. I'll deselect by clicking and I'll play it, and you'll see that that zips on screen. So let's go back to the beginning. I'll scrub to hour 0. Command S to save, or Control S, and then we'll play this. We should have the chili logo come on screen, and then from 1 to 2 seconds, the entree fly on screen. There's my Chili's logo. There's my entree. Again, it gets more elaborate than that, but that's the basics behind animating in Premiere Pro. If you guys can get this under your belt, you'll be in great shape. A lot of times that keyframe, the second keyframe, is always an issue because you want to apply some brakes. You can right click your second keyframe, temporal interpolation, ease it in. I'll select my logo, go to my second keyframe, and I'll ease it in. Be sure to save what you're working with, you guys. Command S or Control S to save. Quit and have a great day, okay? You guys be ready tomorrow for some more filming and stuff like that. I'm sorry we didn't see the video bulletin. You guys will see it during Pride. Have a great day, everyone. Okay, let me stop this recording. This is going to be recorded. See.